Tears of the Kingdom. The game I completed way too fast, not coming back to play again for over a year. That's right, I'm playing through Tears of the Kingdom, or have been for a month now, but that's besides the point. I've found so much joy and happiness from playing this game and recording it for all of y'all. I've made 10 episodes so far and will be going over each one, summarizing them kind of like a storyline, so stay tuned and I hope you enjoy. I spawn into a stairway with Zelda leading into an area that is unknown. After some traveling, we find some cool artwork all over the wall, then decide to move on. As time goes by and we go deeper and deeper into this unknown area, we eventually stumble upon a big room with an evil-looking mummy dude in the center. He has a hand on his chest that falls to the ground, dropping a stone that Zelda picks up. The evil-looking mummy dude wakes up and isn't very happy. He decides to shoot some red yucky magic at us that destroys the Master Sword. After he does some serious damage to me, he tells us how pathetic he thinks we are and then shoots his red yucky magic at the ceiling. The magic shakes the room and makes a lot of the floor fall. The evil mummy dude falls down with the floor and Zelda goes down with him. I jump to try and catch Zelda, but I miss, and that hand that was on the evil mummy dude catches me and I black out. I then wake up in a weird room and find out that I have a new arm from the voice that talks to me. I get up and grab the now destroyed Master Sword and make my way to a different area. In this new area that I find, I use my new arm and start up some sort of mechanical system in the room. I then make my way outside and get some legwear. As I'm looking all around me, I decide that the best thing to do would be to jump off the sky island and dive down. I luckily land in some water and find out that I'm in a bunch of sky islands. I then follow a path that leads me to this robot thingy that I use my new arm on. It somehow knows my name and gives me the pure pad. I then use my arm on this thing that makes a bridge for me. After I cross, I make my way to the Temple of Time, defeating robots with the weapons I find. When I get to the Temple of Time, I get rejected, and this Raru guy who gave me his arm tells me that I need to get stronger, and to get stronger by going through the Shrines of Light and getting their light blessings. I then make my way to the shrine closest to me and get a new ability called Ultra Hand. After that, I make my way over to the next shrine, completing all of the puzzles that are in my way. This next shrine gives me another ability called Fuse. Then I make my way over to the next shrine, finding a mine along the way. While I'm in the mine, the robots, called constructs, teach me about Zonite. After I get out of the mine, I continue my journey to the next shrine, but I need to cook myself some chili peppers because it's really cold. Finally, I get to the shrine and get another new ability called Ascend. After I get out of the shrine, I go back to the Temple of Time and find out that I am strong enough to get in. Once I'm in, I see Zelda and she gives me the recall ability. I then make my way out to exit the Temple of Time, but I find out that I'm not strong enough to open the door. Raru then tells me that there is one more shrine that I need to get a light blessing from. I then make my way to the last shrine and get its light blessing. Then I make my way back to the Temple of Time. Once I'm back to the Temple of Time, I give 4 light blessings to the statue and get a heart container. Once I receive the new heart, I'm finally able to open the door, so I do so. After I open the door, I go outside and put the Master Sword above a pedestal, and it disappears. I then decide to dive down to the mainland of Hyrule. That was a lot to unpack. I find myself walking towards a little fort. The guards there are baffled to see that I'm alive. I then go through the fort, called Lookout Landing, and meet Joshua. She then sends out Pyrrha, a familiar face. Pyrrha then asks me what happened, so I tell her. She then sends me out to go meet up with Oz at Hyrule Castle to tell him what happened. Along the way, I find a Shrine of Light, so I complete the puzzle and get its light blessing. Once I got out of the Shrine of Light, I continued to make my way to Oz. When I got to Oz, I told him everything that happened. We then got interrupted by a sighting of Zelda, but before we could do anything, she disappeared into an orb of light. After she disappeared, I went to go back to report to Pyrrha. Once I was back at Lookout Landing, I met up with Pyrrha and she told me that I needed a map. She then told me to meet her at the Skyview Tower. Before I went to meet up with her, I went to go sell a few things so I could buy an outfit. Once I had my new outfit, I went to meet up with Pyrrha at the Skyview Tower. She then set up the tower and told me to get ready. I then got touched by guardian hands and launched into the sky to take videos of the land. Once I was done, I had the first part of the map done. Pyrrha then told me about all the different things happening to the regions of Hyrule and set me on a quest to stop them. As I walked out of Lookout Landing, I decided that it would be best if I were to go to Rito Village. Right when I left, I saw a shrine, so I solved its puzzle and got its light blessing. While I was walking through a bridge, I was met by sleeping Hinox. Nowhere to go. I had to defeat it, so I locked in and made it face the Rim Keeper. After I walked past the bridge, I saw a cave, so I went through it and found a chest with some climbing gear in it. Once I was out of the cave, I was met with a stable. It was just what I needed. I caught a horse and found a lady that needed one, so I gave it to her. Impa was looking at a geoglyph, and she wanted to get a better view, so I lit up a hot air balloon and we flew up. I then discovered that there was a little puddle of light. I examined it, and I was given a memory of Zelda in the past, seeing Rauru and Sonia. After the memory was over, I went to another shrine and got its light blessing. As I got out of the shrine, I knew I wouldn't want to walk anymore, so I got a horse and named him George. Shout out to my boy George. We then went to Rito Village, but then was stopped by Hestu. So I helped him out and got some extra weapon slots. George and I then were back on our way to Rito Village. I found a Skyview tower and left George to fend for himself. Sorry, George. As I was flying through the sky, I saw a shrine, so I went to go get it and got its light blessing. As I exited the shrine, I was met with a gaze of Rito Village. I quickly rushed over to get there and got a stamina vessel. Actually, no, wait, I gotta say something. If y'all are new and haven't watched any of my episodes of the playthrough, I highly encourage you to do so. I'm pretty cool. Anyways, I made my way over to the shrine in Rito Village and got its light blessing. Then I went over to see Tulin fighting with his parents. After Tulin flew off, I went to get some new cold-resistant clothes so I could go after him. When I put my new clothes on, I traveled through the vast region and finally found Tulin, but a monster took his bow. I then got his bow back for him, but then we got ambushed by a gang of monsters, so we had to team up on them and defeat them. Once we were done battling them, we were told by the Rito that we could go further on. As we went higher and higher into the sky, we found many things that weren't normal. I eventually lost Tulin and was on my own. After a lot of climbing and flying, I got to the Wind Temple, but got rejected once again. It was because I had lost track of Tulin. I then teleported back to the shrine that I had gotten earlier while I was ascending and found out that Tulin's dumb butt was stuck in an animation and I needed to talk to him. Once I talked to him and got him back, I went back to the Wind Temple and started the machine. But I once again got rejected. We needed to free the 5 locks that held the hatch closed. Tulin and I went to each lock, solving each puzzle to free them. Once we had all 5 locks freed, we then went to open the hatch and it worked, but at a cost. When the hatch opened, a great big monster called Colgera was released, and we had to defeat it. Tulin and I were ready for this. We beat Colgera to its half stage before it all fell downhill. I had used up all my arrows, but that didn't stop me. I fell through each ice hole and defeated the beast. Once Colgera was down, I was met with a heart container, and Tulin was met with a secret stone. We then were brought into this weird area where a Rito ancestor, the Sage of Wind, told us everything about what happened in the past with the Demon King. Tulin then found out he was going to be the Sage of Wind, and then he joined me on my journey. The problem with Rito Village was over. As the problem with Rito Village was solved, I got the Skyview Tower there and went back to Lookout Landing. I met up with Robbie and decided to go into the depths with him. Before I went though, I got the light blessing from the shrine near the chasm. When I dove down into the chasm, I was met with darkness. I looked around for a second, then found a light room. I turned it on and then went over to the next one, following Robbie's campfire trail. But while I was on my way, I encountered many different monsters. I beat them. Once that was all done, I got the other light route and found Robbie. He gave me the camera ability on the pure pad, and then I took a picture of the statue for Joshua. After that, I fought a few more monsters and made my way back to the Lookout Landing. Once I was there, I showed Joshua the pictures. She was fascinated. As I was deciding on what to do next, I settled on going to Zora's domain, but I needed a place to stop. So I decided on going to Kakariko Village. I then got George back out and started my journey to Kakariko Village. Along the way, I was met by a shrine, so I got its light blessing. Then I was met with a battle toss and defeated it relatively easy. Once I was back on the road, I was met with another shrine, so I got its light blessing too. Then continued my journey, defeating tons of monsters along the way. After a while, I saw another Skyview tower, so I went for it, but was stopped by another battle talus. I then defeated it really easily and went to work on breaking rocks to ascend into the tower. As I got into the tower, I was touched by guardian hands once again and was sent into the sky, leaving George to fend for himself once again. As I was flying through the sky, I spotted Kakariko Village and went there. I got the light blessing from the shrine there and met up with Bea. I left Kakariko Village in a hurry, eager to get to Zora's domain. Once I was really on my way, I was met with tons of monsters. As I was traveling, I got a light blessing from a shrine. Once I was out, I went ahead and came face to face with a lot more monsters. After a rough battle, I finally defeated them all. I then followed the path all the way to Zora's domain. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I did a lot of monster fighting along the way. As I approach Zora's domain, I find a shrine, so I get the light blessing. Then I make my way to the little town square and meet up with Yona, and find out that Sidon is in Mipha's court trying to control the sludge. But to get up there with him, I need to get the Zora's armor, and to get the armor, I need to give Yona an ancient arowana, so I do that. Once the armor was crafted, I made my way to Sidon at Mipha's court, he was super happy to see me. There was a shrine there, so I got the light blessing. Sidon told me that I should go talk to Joda, so I went over to him. He was trying to depict a message, but the slab was gone. I helped him get the slab back, and he depicted the message for me. It said that I needed the king's scales, so I went to go find King Dorfian in the pristine sanctum, where he was healing. The king gave me the scales, and then I reported back to Sidon. He told me that I needed a map, so I went over to the Skyview Tower and got touched by the guardian hands once again. I then went over to a fish-shaped sky island and shot the king's scale into the teardrop that made a green beam appear in the lake. Once I was back to Sidon, I told him everything, but then a sludge-like appeared out of nowhere and we fought it, defeating it obviously. After it was defeated, we made our way to the green beam of light in the lake. When we arrived, Sidon decided to create a whirlpool in the lake that revealed a passage to a place underneath the lake. I went in and completed all of the puzzles that it made me do. Once I made it to the final place of it, I used my new arm and it revealed the entrance to a wellspring island. Sidon and I went through the island, fighting plenty of constructs along the way, eventually making it all the way to the water temple. Once we were there, we had to turn on the 4 faucets to wash away the sludge. After we did a lot of grinding, solving the puzzles, and turning on all the faucets, the sludge was washed away, but at a cost. We had to fight a monster called Muktarok. This was not an easy fight at all for me. I was out of arrows, so I had to improvise and use choo-choo jelly and Sidon's help. After we finally defeated Muktarok, I was granted a heart container and Sidon was granted a secret stone. Then Sidon and I saw an ancient Zora, the Sage of Water, in a weird room. The sage told us about the troubles and battle with the Demon King and how Sidon will be the Sage of Water. Sidon accepted this and became a part of my journey. The problem in Zora's domain was gone. After I got back to Zora's domain, I decided that I wanted to go ahead and get the mythical Fierce Deity set, my favorite set. I then made my way to the cave that supposedly held the Fierce Deity sword, and the directions to the other pieces of the armor. Once I got there, I searched the chests for the directions, and I finally found them. I set my eyes on the piece that was hidden in the Akalos Citadel. I made my way there and got the armor piece, then set my eyes on the piece that was hidden in a cave in the Skull Lake's left eye. Once I got there, getting a Skyview tower along the way, I found the piece of armor. After that, I set my eyes on the last piece of armor that was in a tree stump in Hyrule Field. Once I made it there, I went through the cave and found the piece of armor. That meant I had the full set. Well, almost. I still needed to go back to the cave and get the sword. So I did. I wore the set of armor in front of the wall, and it opened for me, which revealed the chest that gave me the sword. With the finding of my favorite armor set, I decided to go to Terrytown, because why not? As I was on my way there, I saw a Lionel. Kinda scary, but I defeated it easily. After it was defeated, I headed over to Terrytown, excited to see how it grew. And grew it did. It is a wonderful place, and Hudson had a kid. She was about to be sent off to Gerudo Village though, so Hudson asked me to help her out. So I did. I helped her do a lesson with the grandma and helped her get on the rail car. Once she was on the other side, she went over to Hudson. They were both by the hot air balloon, but they needed sundal lines for cloth to put on it. I then went over to the Sky Islands to get the sundal lines for them. Once I had all 10 of them, I gave them to Hudson. He then made a cloth, and we went into the sky right as the sunset was happening. It was beautiful. After we landed, Matson, Hudson's daughter, had to leave to Gerudo Village. Well, that about summarizes it all up. Tears of the Kingdom has been really fun to come back to after a while. I hope you all enjoyed, and if you did, maybe consider hitting those like and subscribe buttons. Also, feel free to comment down below. I would love to hear feedback. I'm going to make sure that I do a lot more of these types of videos because I love making them. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see y'all in the next video.